Hi, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everybody. Thank you for joining our webinar today. This is another edition of Ahead of the Curve, Digital Marketing Tips, Tricks, and Best Practices for Businesses during COVID-19. So this is our second in the series, and I do have to say we're really pleased with the response that we're getting from the community and so forth. But before we kick off, let's just do a quick sound check to make sure that we're coming through all right. Great. Okay, sound. Yep. Terrific. Excellent. Okay, so just a couple of things to note. This which will be shared with you. We are also doing a Q&A as part of the session, so make sure you stick around to the end and we'll be addressing questions. So just put those questions into the question box. We'll be tracking those. We do have a lot of people coming in from all across the world, so if you do happen to have any issues with audio, you can always log out and log back in again, or we recommend that you use the dial-in number that's been provided with the webinar series. So that's great. So let's move on. Just before we get into the content today, just a little bit about WSI. So at WSI, we've been around for the last 25 years. And we've literally helped hundreds of thousands of businesses across the world. And this whole series was really set up to help businesses like yours during this time. We wanted to do something where we could give back and really bring some experts from our community to teach businesses like yourself in terms of how you can really lean into digital during this time. So the format of the session is they're shorter 30-minute webinars. We're going to have about 20 minutes of content with 10 minutes of Q&A. So let's just get into our session today. And so today's session is really about analyzing your competitors. And so in this time, we recognize how important it is to pull together and help each other. This is not really about bringing your competitors down, but it's more about building your own business up and looking at what some of your competitors are doing so that you can learn from that, really strengthen your own position. And this is a great time to look at your business, look at your own digital strategy and do a tune-up. You know, for some businesses, coronavirus has provided really a window of downtime to be able to get to those areas of the business maybe they didn't have time for. In the same way that some restaurants, you know, they close for renovation so that they can open up and be a better business. You know, this is a time that you can do that and really do your own renovations on your digital strategy, and looking at your competitors can be a great way to do that. So our guest today is no stranger to digital marketing. Francois Muscat has authored the chapter on competitive analysis in WSI's best-selling book, Digital Minds. He's trained thousands of executives in the field of digital marketing. He's the president of South Africa's Professional Speakers Association. He's also helped thousands of businesses with their digital presence. So I know he's excited to join us from the call today. Francois is joining us from Johannesburg, South Africa. And I know Francois has been experiencing some connection issues the last few days. So we're hoping we have a good connection today. And we're just keeping the cameras off today. I know our last session was on video. We're just keeping the cameras off today to maximize bandwidth for voice. So Francois, welcome. Are you there?
Thank you very much, Michael, and good day, everybody. Yeah, can you hear me all right?
You're coming through on my side, yes. Yep.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, so I'll jump straight into it. So a good day, everybody. So what we're going to cover today is really why would you want to do a competitive analysis, you know, during this period, which we are mostly in lockdown. And why we're suggesting it is because the competitive analysis is really done with a lot of marketing audits. And this is something that most of our businesses should be doing, because these audits will help us identify, you know, what we're good at, and also what we're weak at. And how do you know whether you're strong or weak at anything is normally you'd need to benchmark yourself, you know, against other people. So that's where the competitiveness comes into this. But when you go through this, what you're going to be able to do is to find out how you can prioritize your efforts, because you normally end up with quite a lot of data, and in many cases you'd wonder, where should you start? So I'm going to help you with that once we go through some of the tactics and the slides that we are going to talk about. And then when you have finished doing one of these for yourself or working with your local consultant, you'll be able to use these insights to really, be agile and, with your digital marketing activities. So thanks, Cheryl. So why would you want to do this during this period? We know we're on lockdown, but marketing is going to shift. And marketers are going to have to do what they've always done best, right? That means you need to stay on top of the latest trends and actually watch the data and look at the insights and understand what your customers are doing now. Using this, it's going to help you, move forward and be more successful with your digital marketing strategies. Now, one of the things, you can flip this, thank you, Cheryl. One of the things is you've probably spent a lot of time and effort and resources on your digital presence. And I've seen in the past month that many businesses are pausing some of their services and, wanting to stop because, times are uncertain. Now, it's a shame that you're going to put your digital marketing, to a halt, because things are going to change, and they always do, and they're going to get better. And this, I'm thinking, is going to be a 3-month thing at most, maybe 1 or 2 months after that. And if you stop some of the activities, certainly that if you use search engine optimization, SEO, it can take months, 9 to 12 months before you start seeing some good results. So you don't want to set yourself up for a difficult time, in the second half of 2020, when everybody's looking for a new business on Google, and then you find that you're not featuring that well. So you can flip there, Cheryl. Thank you. So how does this competitive analysis help you, in this time? Well, when you've got time on your hands, you can sit back, and have a look at the big picture. When you're doing that and you look at some of the information that you can find, you'll maybe see that your market is changing a bit, and you will find out some of the things that you need to focus on. So taking stock of your digital presence is much in the way that I've been looking at my Facebook page recently, and I'm seeing, a lot of people doing spring cleaning, doing handyman work all the way, to fix things up because they're in lockdown. Why not spend this time, spring cleaning your website and your online presence, because then, you can be ready for when everything is ready to go. Cheryl? Okay, so what would a competitive analysis give you? Well, in effect, it's really just a bunch of audits. So you're going to look at your website and you're going to see, where are things that you can improve. You're going to look at your search engine performance. And this is the part that most of us are normally, interested in, because, you either get the results or you don't. We want to look at content. We know that content plays a big role as part of your search engine strategy, but even so, it's content that also plays, in your social media strategy. And then look at your social media and see how well, you're already performing and how well you're engaging with your target market. And the end result is, Google Analytics and all the analytics that we get, those insights can really help us, understand. Now, you'll see that on each slide, I've got the free tools, because there's nothing better than, being, armed at the end of this presentation to actually try some of these tools out in the way that I'm going to show you. Of course, if you want to have much more in-depth results, you might have to go towards the paid tools, but that's where your local WSI consultant, can help you. Whoever invited you to this webinar can certainly help you go forward into an in-depth audit. Thank you, Cheryl. So when we look at the website audit, you want to look at your message as well. You want to make sure that you don't have the special which says, click here, rush down to get your free gift, or, book your last minute travel arrangements in the next 2 days, for a special. So check your websites out, make sure that your call to actions, actually have been adjusted, to this situation. And also look at your marketing messages and just see that it's appropriate, in this time that we are going and experiencing. The other thing is you should be able to use some tools in this time to have a look at your website to see, can you improve the speed? And also, is everything intact, the navigation and that. So one of the nice tools that you could use is SEO Minion. It's a plugin that you can put onto Chrome. And it's very easy to use. You can see broken links and anything on your site. You could also use the HubSpot website grader, which is very good. But if you wanted something a little bit more customized, WSI do have a salt card report, which you see on the right-hand side there, that can give you, some in-depth, and, sometimes you can get these complimentary, and I'm sure you can for this webinar. So thank you, Cheryl. So when we get down to the SEO audit, what are we looking for? We want to see how well we are ranking. So the keywords that you're targeting. So make sure that you have a look at where they are and what needs improvement. You can then look at your own analytics for your traffic performance. So you can get an idea of how much search and organic traffic you're getting. Now, if you use a free tool like Uber Suggest, it's free for now. I think Neil Patel's trying to get some money out of it eventually. But you will be able to see your competitor sites. Yeah, I've put in Amazon, and it'll show you like their traffic is really growing. And if you look further down, you can select their top pages. So you can then see which pages are performing really good. So these tools, if you use them on your own website, and then you have a peek at maybe, what others are doing in your industry, you might start to identify some pages that, you could be adding to your website, because you can see the type of traffic, that they can generate for you. Thank you, Cheryl. Now, when it comes to content audits, many times I hear from my clients and prospects that every time I Google something, my competitor seems to be there. And you're not certain how many keywords your competitor has, the search visibility that they have. And most of the time, you can get to the bottom of this by doing a content review and an audit. So a content review would be to, look at how many pages you have on your website and how many blog posts you have. And if you plot this like this, and you notice that if you Acme Corp and your competitors are ahead of you, you will probably see, without fail, that the content is what's going to make the difference. And this is why content marketing, does a good return of investment for you. And when you go further into a content audit, not just, counting your content, but looking at it and seeing, are your blog posts relevant for today, now in 2020? Have a look at what traffic each one of your blog posts are getting. And a good review can often help you republish with updated content instead of trying to write new stuff. And what we find nowadays, when you create these longer, what we call pillar content articles, you can then merge a number of your articles together to generate something really good. Thank you. So a little tip on, I think we're going to flip the slide. Here we got it. Just a bit of a lag. So a little tip on how to find out how many web pages and blog posts someone has is you use the sites command, SITE : and then you put the web address. So if you just do that, you will get the results of the entire website. In this case, it's 969 pages. But if you then just go space blog, right, then it will pull out, Google will filter just the blogs out. And in this case, we can see we have 700 blogs. So you can imagine that your website is 80% has content that is targeting the top of the funnel and driving new traffic to you. So that's a quick tip on how you can actually look for new, sizes of a website. Thank you, Cheryl. So when we get to a social audit, we know that social media is the ideal platform for us to communicate directly with our consumers and our clients. So you might need to use this time, to provide easy access to information that your customers want because they can't come to your store. And you might want to use your social media accounts to let your customers know of any changes that you have in your service, such as, your new business hours, and maybe you have some delivery issues or stock shortages, like toilet paper that you can't deliver at this time. So if you do have a call center, you can also invite people to direct message you on social so that you can give them the type of service that you want. So what you want to do is maybe look at exploring some of the other channels, because we know that like Instagram is a great channel. If your target market is 35 years and younger, it's something that you might want to do. But go into your profiles and note how many followers you have and add that up as a total. Then do the same for some competitors that are maybe doing things bigger and better than you. And when you see the reach that some people have, the audience that they can send a message out to, you might just get the motivation to start, working on some of your social media activities, so that you can actually engage better with your community. Thank you, Cheryl. So where you can get some real good insight is having and keeping an eye on your analytics, right? So when you look at analytics, you should be able to see visitor behavior. How are they coming through and actually navigating your website? But what you must do now as a marketer is maybe make some annotation markers on your analytics and mark this period of lockdown as a key event, because when you look at this later next year or later on in the year, you're going to see this traffic is down. And maybe, yes, we will remember this time, but you might not. So it's not a bad idea just to, document this. And then you can also see how well, your visitors are engaging. Thank you, Cheryl. So one of the other great tools that are free is Google Trends. So all you need to do is go to google.com/trends. And what I did here, I just typed in coronavirus travel. But think about, are people looking for some of your services, but using different keyword phrases? So for travel, we can see the period of time that this is happening in. But what you want to look at is the related queries at the bottom of the slide. And where it says breakout, that means those terms are being increased by more than 5,000%. So these are keywords that you might want to target and put into your content. Thank you, Cheryl. So to help you prioritize your work, if you have a more in-depth, so this is one of the in-depth tools, what you want to do, find out what keywords that you rank for on page 2 and above of Google, and do something about improving those by getting your inbound links through your local consultants. And then look at your competitors' best performing pages to give you some ideas for your content strategy. So that'll get you focused into the right direction. Thank you, Cheryl. Now, if you plot all of this together, you can get one picture, and it says Wonka has the best search visibility, as well as they use social media the most. They have the biggest network. But the key here is the size of the bubble is how much content they have. And this is where you can see whether you are short and why content actually helps you grow. So that would be a good summary slide for you to run on a regular basis, probably every 6 months, to track how you are performing. Okay, so in summary, I want you to review and benchmark yourself against your competitors and just see how you're doing. Then refresh your existing content. You're totally in control of that. And maybe have a look and see where there are opportunities, to improve where your traffic has dropped. Update all your blog posts, and then maybe look at shifting some of your budget. Maybe, your Google AdWords, you can't drive people to your store, so shift some of that into more of a content type strategy. So I'll hand back over to you, Cheryl, and we can take some questions going from there.
Okay, great. Thanks, Francois. I know Cheryl's driving slides there on the back end, and lots of great tips here. And we're getting some questions and great comments in the chat. Before we get there, I just want to remind people of a couple things in case you have to jump off at the, more information on competitive analysis, as well as other digital topics, can be found in our newest Digital Minds book, which is now available on Amazon. And so there's a link there. As Francois mentioned, if you are looking at doing a deeper dive and having a more thorough competitive analysis, you can connect with your WSI consultant. So we sort of do this for businesses. If they invited you to the session, if you're not sure who invited you, or you've joined us from somewhere else, great. Just connect with us at contact@wsiworld.com. I also want to remind you about our upcoming session next week, which you'll use the same link you used for today. But next week, we're going to take a deep dive into marketing to your database. So learning some of the basics of managing your customer contacts in order to grow your business. So this is going to feature one of our authors, Allison Lindemann from California. And really, a customer database is one of the most valuable things for many businesses. It's kind of that Rembrandt in the closet that maybe they don't recognize the value of their database. And we're going to kind of share some tactics in terms of how to really tap into that. So that's going to be a great session. Okay, perfect. Let's get to the Q&A here, Francois. And I'm just going to go up here to a question that we had come in a little earlier. Let's see here. I think it was flagged. So I guess one of the questions here was just about, obviously one of the big messages here is about, this is an opportunity to create more content for your business that's relevant. And so in terms of looking at that, what were some of the tools again that you would recommend if I wanted to write some good content for my website? Where would I look to do that?
I think the best free tool you can do is Google. So if you're going to just type in whatever it is you're searching, let's say content marketing, and then just scroll down to where Google is giving you the questions. So that's called the answer machine. And once you click a few of those questions, you'll find that they keep on expanding, and you're going to get all your ideas. You're going to see what people are looking for, and you actually have reference articles. So that's what I normally do if I want to find 3 quick questions to add to any piece of content. So that's a free way of doing it, but there are other tools like BuzzSumo, but they are expensive to tell you which ones perform really well.
Right, and I know last week on our session with Ryan Kelly and Cynthia, he mentioned something called Answer the Public, I believe it was called, which can give you a sense as to some of the questions out there that people are having, which can help you develop content there. So here's a question from Michelle. The question is, how can you benchmark traffic performance against competitors? Are there free tools to do that? And do you input the competitor names, or does it do this for you?
So that tool that was in that slide, on the SEO slides, it's ubersuggest.com. So Ubersuggest is a free tool at this stage. If you put your competitor, any website in there, it will give you an estimate of the traffic. It's not accurate because no one can get into your analytics. So what they're using is data that they get from, internet providers, and then they can work out an estimate. So if it's all wrong, but it's relative, So that tool will help you immediately.
And so you would go in there and you would type in the competitor name, and it would give you that information.
Exactly. You just type the URL, and you can choose traffic, or you can choose top pages, or even keywords, and it will give you quite a lot of information about that.
Okay, great. Got a question here from Karen. Does your blog need to be a separate web page labeled blog? So I think this was referenced back to looking at the volume that was coming through, or the number of pages associated with that.
Yes, Michael, ideally you should have your blog as a subdomain within your website, but it's not critical. So in that instance, I was using WSI World. It was easy to do that. And some blogs have their own URL. So then you would just go site and then put the website address /blog.
Okay, great. So one of the things that you've mentioned here is in relation to kind of changing some of the content. And of course, if you have offers that aren't relevant anymore, you talked about the importance of that during this time. But a question was just about the blogs that maybe are not relevant during this stage. Would you recommend deleting those blogs, or what do you do in this situation if you have blogs on your, maybe past blogs that maybe aren't relevant right now?
So if you have a very large website with a lot of content, and a lot of that content doesn't get traffic, and you sort of get a bit of I wouldn't say you get penalized, but what happens is Google has a crawl budget. So it'll only spend so much time on your website. And if it's seeing that a lot of your content is not getting traffic, you will just lose, like a quality score. So ideally, you should delete any event-driven content. So something that said this was, some concert in Las Vegas in, 2010, and that's on your website, you take that one off. But you might have something that could just be updated, like the top 10 tips of travel today is very different to what it was a year ago. So then you would say the top 10 tips of travel in 2020, and you would republish that post and using updated information. So delete old ones, refresh new ones, and combine similar articles into one longer piece of content.
Okay, terrific. We've got a question here from Eric. Is there a free platform that allows you to analyze audience flow through the funnel?
I have not seen that. I think you would have to use one of those heat maps, something like Hotjar. Can do a video of somebody that's on your system. $29, not bad. You can see what 2,000 visitors do. I think you can go 2,000 for free, 10,000 for $29. Otherwise, you would use your Google Analytics and go to the funnel visualization, and then you'll have to sort of gauge what type of navigation is happening, the behavior on your website.
Okay, great. And so that was Hotjar, and I know that there's a couple of other heat mapping tools that we use as well to look at some of that audience flow and where the most where the most traffic is coming through on the site and so forth, the most interesting calls to action and so forth. Got a question from Joanne, and so is there a process that you'd recommend to identify who your competitors actually are?
Well, the easy way, the one way is obviously to just Google and then see what comes up in the search results. If you do have the paid tools, then you would probably need to use a tool like SEMrush or Ahrefs. And there you can plug your URL into it. And what you will get from them is where there's an overlap of keywords between you and a website, where there's a big overlap, then that's normally your true competitor. And then you can actually start to investigate that further. But those require paid tools, unless you just Google to see, who comes up.
Okay, great. Now, I'm aware we're at the top of the hour here. And so if maybe you have a couple of minutes, Francois, we can maybe take a couple of questions for after the fact, maybe people that have to jump off. Right now, we've got a couple of good questions that maybe we can get to. But I do want to remind everybody just about the fact that our series continues next week with a great session about database management and database marketing. Also, if you've got additional questions about this, reach out to your local consultant. We're here to help you. If you've just got questions, anything we've talked about today about looking at your competitors or anything like that, definitely we're here to help out businesses. We want local businesses to look at us and lean on us right now so that we really become a solution for you. So, it's great to see so many people from around the world, very international. So once again, thank you for attending. So, Francois, if we've got time for maybe two more questions here. I've got a question from Herman, and this is maybe outside of competitive analysis, but just had a question about what are your thoughts on the effectiveness and trends of social media marketing in healthcare, which is traditionally a busy and less digitally social customer segment?
Well, it's a difficult one for me to answer, but the one thing I do know for healthcare and for financial, if you have blog posts and content on your websites, and even for legal, and you don't have a good author box and someone that is experienced in health, you will find that you will start losing a massive amount of traffic. And we've seen this across many healthcare sites and financial services sites. If you want to read up a bit more, it's called Your Money, Your Life. So it's YMYL. You can just Google that. And that's an algorithm that Google is using where they use real people to visit health websites and read the content, look at the content, and then look at the author boxes to see for three things. And they call it EAT, E-A-T. It's for expertise, authority, and trust. And they look for those three things on author's box on the content of health and financial sites. And that's something where you can clean up and fix if you find that you're losing traffic. I'm not sure to answer that question, but that's the best I can offer there, Michael.
Okay, perfect. And maybe we'll just take one more question, just because I know we're already over time. If we didn't get to your question, certainly we'll make sure that we have somebody reach out to you, your consultant that invited you. But a question here just about analyzing competitors. And so I think it's a good one. Is it a good idea, or is it important to compare yourself to aspirational targets that may not be a competitor to guide your efforts? So maybe they're not a direct competitor in your local market, but maybe they're a big player in the industry. Is that a good idea to use them in your competitive analysis?
Absolutely. I like to say that gone are the days of doing SEO in a bubble. You cannot just do it on your own without looking. So when we do some of these competitor analysis, we don't just look at the competitor that we feel is our competitor. What I like to do is add one best of breed, best practice website in there that could be in another country. And I mean, one that can come to mind is like Harley Davidson and Microsoft and some of those big companies. They have digital marketing teams far bigger than any one of us in our agency. And that's what they do all day long. So you can learn a lot from some of these companies. They might not be your competitor, but you can learn a lot of things that they're doing. So for instance, if you were a little coffee shop, in your neighborhood, and you said that Starbucks was your competitor, well, yes, they are. But when you look at what Starbucks' website has got compared to what your website has got, you could never build something like that. So online, you would have to be smart and maybe use a bit of guerrilla tactic by seeing what Starbucks does that really works for them and seeing how you can pick and choose things that can help you. Otherwise, it will be a massive resource to try and duplicate that.
Absolutely. That's great. That's great advice, Francois. And kind of as I said at the outset, we're all kind of coming together during coronavirus, and it's not about pushing your competitor down, but there's a lot of creative people out there that are coming up with great ideas, and, your competitors may be doing this, and it's a good idea to do that. And again, just reiterating, we've got our team of consultants across the globe that we're here to help. So if you've got any other questions, definitely reach out to them for that. And thank you for joining us today. Big thanks to you, Francois. I'm super happy that the audio seemed to come through. At least it did for me. And thank you for those people. I know there was a couple of audio issues for some of you. Thank you for sticking through that and continuing to plug through. And hopefully you found this valuable. But Francois, big thanks to you. I know you're a busy guy, especially now with lots going on and so forth. And appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to be part of our webinar series today.
No, it's an absolute pleasure, Michael. Thank you so much.
Okay, so thank you again, and look forward to seeing everybody on our session next Wednesday at 11:30 Eastern Time. Have a great day.